I never got this screen before. Do I say join audio or share screen?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Durham Board of Finance proposed budget, July 2020 through June 2021. This is the annual budget hearing that we'll be taking over webinar. I wanted to take a moment just to wish everyone well during this very serious time that we're going through. I hope that everyone that has been affected by this pandemic is handling it the best that they can. And anyone that might have been negatively impacted, that you can get over whatever it is that you've been able to handle, deal with, and that everything will eventually turn out to be okay. Wishing you all the best. I'll remind you that this is a recorded webinar. And what that means is that in the event that you would like to hear the webinar again, it will be available on the town's website. My name is Bob Donahue, and I am the current chair of the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance takes its direction from the town charter, sections 5-1 to 5-1.9, and section 73-340 of the general statutes of the state of Connecticut. What does the Board of Finance do? We prepare the town budget, we set the property tax rate, we approve deficiencies and special appropriations and transfers between appropriations, we determine how town financial records are to be kept, we arrange for the annual town audit, and we publish the annual town report. When we talk about the strength of Durham, I'd like to quote for you a passage that came in from our auditor. Seward and Mond is the town's auditor, and their comment about the town's balance sheet and general opinion from June of 2019 included this opinion. In our opinion, the town's presented financial statements represent fairly in all material aspects the respective financial position of the activities, business activities, major funds and information of the town of Durham, and as of June 30, 2019, the respective changes in financial position and where applicable cash flows thereof for the year that ended in conformity with the United States generally accepted accounting principles. The full audit is also available on the town's website in the section that's called Town Documents. Durham manages cash flows through a consistent system of checks and balances. That includes approval set for certain dollar amounts requested, as well as a detailed summary that is provided by the town finance director. Durham's tax collection rate has a 5-year average of 98.93 for the current year levy. Its high was at 99.05 and low was at 98.77. This year, through April 30, the rate is at 98.56. Durham has experienced a minimal decrease in population in comparison to other towns in the state. Its housing values are fairly stable, and if anything, they've experienced a slight increase over the past 5 years. The town has also made a commitment to its infrastructure by approving funding for completion of its capital projects. As a result of these attributes, Durham can be labeled a stable community. The town leaders plan to begin a strategic planning process by leveraging the leadership of the new town planner, using the information currently being collected by the Economic Development Commission survey in order to assist with helping the town to grow its grand list. And in addition to that, some zoning regulations will definitely have to be reviewed and assessed. As state funding may continue to decrease, the town should look to increase revenue by attracting new development. The Board of Finance will continue to look to various departments for actions to increase their possible revenue streams and also reduce expenses accordingly. This year, the public safety upgrade that began last year is forecasted to be completed and will include a possible grant to help reduce the final cost from the Regional Performance Incentive Program. There is a substantial amount of own dead or dying trees, and this is an issue that this year needs to be handled as swiftly as possible. The plan that is in place and the funds that are in the budget for this year for the tree warden are essentially for what we are classifying as eminent needs. Because of some of the major work that has been completed related to road paving, some of the budget for the town's chip sealing program can be used to help supplement this for this fiscal year. Corn School and its future is a hot topic that continues to rise. There are no current funding plans in place for this facility, but this is something that will come up as an impact on our future financial discussions. Here is our proposed town budget in summary. Our grand total operating is at $6,134,17. The bond debt payment is at $147,105. The payment this year includes principal as well as interest, which is different from last year. Our reserve fund appropriations are at $516,834. The capital improvements program is at $284,000. The 2020-21 grand total town expenses are at $7,081,956, whereas the 2019 and 20 grand total town expenses were at $7,335,834. What this means is that we have a decrease in dollars for the budget year in the amount of $253,928. And speaking in terms of percentage, we are at negative 1.04%. Year over year change in expenses, the grand total operating has a change of $110,125. The bond debt payment has a change of $81,105. Again, as a reminder, that includes the schedule of principal as well as interest this year. Capital and reserve funding has been reduced by $445,158. And again, the grand total town expenses for this year have been reduced by $253,928. Change in revenue for this year. Total local revenue, we're seeing a change and a reduction of $342,470. State revenue reduction of $18,794. The net town budget reduction of $107,336. The education cost sharing grant came in a bit higher at $151,713. And our budgetary grand list is at $7,427,817 above. The total of this brings us to a mill rate of 35.87. Last year's mill rate was 35.89. This means that the Board of Finance has reduced the mill rate for this year. What I'd like to do now is go over operating budget increases that are in excess of $5,000. Planning and zoning, the increase is due to legal fees associated with continued litigation. The tree warden is the estimated summary for as soon as possible remediation of the town's tree problem. Social Security is in relation to new staff. Health insurance is in relation to new staff. Facility is associated with the facilities manager's wages. In highway wages, we have the annual increase, which is based upon the union contract. Highway fuel is based upon the forecast from the consortium. The fire company is related to gear and equipment that is needed. The ambulance company is related to financing required for operations at this current time. Library wages are related to the union contract, and recreation expenses are due to programs and supplies. I'd like to review now decreases that are less than 5,000. Finance department salaries. There is a decrease in the current consulting contract. The building department official, the position was transferred to part-time. The economic development is related to no tangible plans for results. The state trooper is related to the fringe rate reduction and a social duty grant. The reduction in the library is related to the Energy Advantage Program loan that has been paid. And the number reflected for DIMIA is based upon a reduced lease request as well as an increased sticker fee. The Board of Finance went through an exercise this year of making an assessment of the type of employees that the town has, along with the compensation and benefits packages that they offer. In September of 2019, I personally met with the Compensation Review Board to explain to them what I thought would be helpful for the Board of Finance as far as making a judgment call about an equitable decision related to the salary increases. I requested that the best course of action would be to follow through with their charge as designated in the town charter, which indicates that they make a review of monetary and non-monetary compensation and benefits for all of the town's employees. In March of 2020, the Board of Finance met with this board and the Board of Select Persons to discuss and review the recommendations. At this meeting, the Board of Finance received a spreadsheet of positions and pay rates from neighboring towns through data that's available through the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, but did not receive any other information to differentiate one employee from the other based upon specific to Durham comparables. The union contracted employees were given their increase based upon their contract, and that is not amenable by the Board of Finance. Salaried employees, which include non-union appointed and elected officials at full-time capacity, did receive an increase. Stipend, contract, and consultant employees, which include part-time appointed and part-time elected officials, were set at a flat rate. I'd like to now explain the appropriations that we made for the reserve. In ambulance, this is for their medical equipment needs. In animal control, this is related to a vehicle replacement. In buildings, this is for maintenance and supplies. In conservation, this is related to Deerfield Farm, Howard Road, and the Curtis Woodlands. In IT, The appropriation is for the town server, a new website, firewall, and also election laptops. Public IT is for maintenance and upgrades. Fire is related to a replacement vehicle, fire ponds, and fire hoses. Highway and infrastructure is for future culvert repair, vehicle and equipment. And the money that's allocated to the assessor is needed for the revaluation that's taking place this year. Elections are for new election equipment. EMD is related to the inflatable tent. Planning and zoning conservation is related to the development plan of 2014, and this is a required allocation. I'd like to review now the proposed allocation for capital. Scott packs, they are required for the fire department. The appropriation for guardrails is in relation to maintenance and replacement. The Department of Public Works allocation is for Durham 8. Communications is associated with the completion of the upgrade, radios, and Tucket Tower. Allen Brook Park is related to an upgrade to the playground. Sidewalk engineering is for completion of that project. And as far as the future road improvements associated with Shady Lane, the Board of Finance just received notification about this funding based upon discussion from the April 16, 2020 Board of Selectmen's meeting. The history that the Board of Finance researched about this matter was it had originally come up at a meeting on July 9th of 2018, again at a Board of Selectmen's meeting at that time. The Board of Finance's understanding of the full project cost is estimated to be just shy of $400,000. The Board of Finance has budgeted to pre-plan for the future expense based upon this knowledge. RSD 13 will have their hearing on May 13th, and a vote is set for May 27th. The budget is based on the projection we received that reflects an anticipated flat budget from last year's figure. The majority of the town's budget is dedicated to funding the Board of Education's budget. This year, as you can see by this slide, that equates to 76%. The Board of Finance does not administer or manage the budget for the Board of Education. On this slide, you see the major fund balances per the audit from June 30th of 2019. As a reminder, the full audit is available on the town's website under the tab Town Documents. In conclusion, our proposed budget this year is based upon the fact that we have reduced total expenses by $253,928. Based on the fact that the Board of Education projected budget is at $22,989,706. In addition, we've made a reduction to capital and reserve appropriations in the amount of $445,158. And the good news about this is that we have reduced the mill rate from last year to 35.87. The public had the opportunity to send in some questions in advance of this presentation. What I'd like to do now is read off the questions and provide you with my responses. What I'd also would like to do is remind you that in the event that you have any questions after this meeting, that you can email them to bofquestions@townofdurhamct.org. Our plan is that they will be answered at the next Board of Finance meeting, which is scheduled to take place on May the 14th. Our only request is that you get the questions in by May 12th at 11:30 p.m. Question 1 comes from a Donald Gates. The question is, can money in the rainy day fund be used to reduce the mill rate for next year, especially because so many taxpayers are out of work? The response is that as of June 30 of 2019, the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was approximately 15% of the total general fund expenditures. Some implications that we need to remember and look at toward this is the volatility that we mentioned before in the state revenue, the loss of our local revenue, any impact also that may happen as a result of the anticipated tax revenue for this year. I have 2 statements and several questions from Adanya Viola. To Durham's BOF members, I'd like to say that the timing you've allowed for the public's input prior to the actual town meeting to take place for discussion on the upcoming budget is unsatisfactory, since the official notice was posted yesterday, 4:53 p.m. at the town clerk's office, and the mailing was only received this week. Please release such information from herein in a more timely manner. My response to that would be that we have had several notifications, including a mailing that went out to the entire town as far as the information that was available about this. The next comment is, getting on with the business of the newly drafted budget proposal, I am fairly certain that all of you are aware of the fact that it has been commonplace for the Board of Finance to consistently hike the non-union employees' salaries by the same percentage for which union employees have settled through contract in caps negotiations. This method of calculating across the spectrum of employees needs to be eliminated. Positions of non-union workers ranked with union members is like comparing apples to oranges and should not be maintained as such. Unfair, especially when they need not worry about going into a bargaining process or ever paying union dues to reap the benefits. It also reflects poor business management, which will undoubtedly soon make it unaffordable for the townspeople to sustain. I suggest you change the structure of establishing wages now. I think I had referenced earlier the exercise that the Board of Finance held as far as making its determination in reference to salaries. We also spent a significant amount of time this year meeting with several boards, and we're fairly confident with the decisions that we've made as far as what the rates are related to increases. Question from Danya Viola. Reference budget item number 441905, $52,000. Is this DMYFS, which we share with Middlefield? And if so, how much did Middlefield contribute? Their contribution rate is at $15,500 plus $10,000 in in-kind donation for use of their office space. Question number 2. Item 43311, 22,000 for youth services grant. Is this applied to previous item noted? The response would be yes. Item number 420102, resident state trooper. Wages at $236,635. Does this include resource officer at the high school? It does not. And how was there a decrease of $53,822 for the resident state trooper? The decrease is related to the fringe and reimbursement rate and also a special duty grant that is not being funded by the state currently. Question number 4. Item number 459905, farmers market. How did that increase come about? The response would be that the farmers market is funded based upon the amount of revenue that it actually generates. Next question. Why the increase of $25,144 for the Planning and Zoning Commission's budget? This is due to the loss of the town planner. The budget is increased due to the implementation of new positions. There is a part-time zoning officer and a full-time town planner. This position is split 50-50 with the town of Middlefield. Lastly, provide the details for the $150,000 suggested for Shady Lane to make road improvements. That item I did reference when I made the commentary in reference to the appropriation that we made about Shady Lane. And again, this is a new item that just came to the attention of the Board of Finance as a result of a Board of Selectmen's meeting that took place on April the 16th. Last question from Danya Viola. With $4.7 million in the general fund, might it be reasonable to offset some of the costs associated with your current budget proposed for the upcoming year and give the taxpayers an even better opportunity to support our hard efforts? I would give the same response as I gave to the original question, which was that as of June 30, 2019, the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was at 15%. I now have 10 questions from Carol Kleeman. Under elected officials, line number 411502, office staff salary. Current 61,632 to 64,669. 5% increase, question mark, why? My response. The administrative assistant offer letter outlines the 3-year step increase, and that is to bring each person up to the current level, but it also includes as well $1,000 for the recording secretary and her services. Question 2, professional services, line number 414305. Please explain what is in this line item. This is associated with information technology. It has to do with numerous agreements that include managed services, wireless maintenance, the SSL certificate, firewall agreements, antivirus protection, the OpenDNS, cyber training, and other multi-factor authentication. Line number 414306. Please explain what is in this line item. This is associated with computers and has to do with iPads, laptops. It also has to do with the replacement schedule associated with them and the battery backup system. Line number 415101. Shouldn't current be at half, split between facilities management and building official? This line actually represents the building official salary, which is at 20 hours per week. Question number 3, planning and zoning. Line number 415305, increase from current of 82,000 to 107,000. Please explain why. The increase is related to the salaries that have to do with the ZEO officer and the town planner. Question number 4, tree warden, line number 434005. Why salary not broken out under salaries? Just to clarify, the line item that's associated with the tree warden is in reference to the money that's being used for the remediation of the trees. The tree warden actually receives an annual stipend in the amount of $600. Question number 5. Town Hall General Expenses, line number 520005. What is included in this item? This has to do with phone, cable, internet, custodial supplies, electricity, and drinking water. Question number 6. Facilities Management, line 520068. What is included in this line item? This budget includes buildings, repairs and maintenance, alarm monitoring, elevator services, fire extinguisher services, boiler air conditioning, generator services, septic cleaning, and garage door service. Question number 7, Public Works, line number 431105, street lights. If all LED lights, why the increase? Response. If you look at the budget, there was actually a decrease in the amount of $1,000 from last year. The town right now is in its second year of a 4-year contract with a fixed rate. Item number 8, animal control salary, line number 421502. Why no increase in salary? I believe I touched base upon this before. However, I'll reiterate the fact that the Board of Finance members met to discuss payroll as well as different positions that the town has categorized, and the animal control salary is categorized as a stipend position and will be reviewed on an annual basis. Animal Control Department, line number 421505. Please explain what this is for. This is for medical veterinary training, boarding charges, phone expenses, fees for other organizations, and department salaries. Question number 10, Public Safety, Emergency Management, line number 422300. Why more than requested? An increase was made to the uniform and protective clothing line for anticipated increase in town public safety, which is related to the current COVID-19 crisis. Last question from Carol Kleeman, number 10, Health and Welfare, line number 440101. Is this for 2 salaries? It is indeed. It's for the sanitarian and the health director. Under revenue, new, and I believe it was meant to be what is new. And so therefore my response to that would be that the $600 that you see in that line item is related to the electric car station revenue. Local revenue. Why is there a requested and recommended column? The reason for this is that the town charter asked for it to be displayed in this way. Line number 46101, bank interest. Unclear. It is an unknown. And we realize that bank interest is always a projection. And so therefore the budget is the projection of possible interest that we would get for the year. General question from Carol Kleeman. Why are there increases in salary when the BOS voted no increases? I believe that I went into that earlier. we had met with the Board of Selectmen as well as the Compensation Review Board. We made a delineation between the different positions that the town has, and we made decisions as far as what increases should and shouldn't take place. Union contracts are not negotiable. And the other salary decisions were made, as I had mentioned earlier as well. Question now from Richard C. Parmalee. Cost of email accounts. What would the cost be for an individual account? I was informed that email accounts for the members of the BOF chairman were not available due to costs. The Durham resident should have access to elected officials. The response would be that the town does actually have email addresses for board chairmen. The addresses for those can be found on the town webpage. However, please keep in mind that many of the chairmen are volunteers. Another question from Rick Parmalee. Employees, is there any new positions / employees being added, part-time or full-time? So as far as staff changes are concerned for the fiscal year of 1920, we did have a building official position that became part-time. This opened up another part-time position for a facilities manager, and that was originally part of the building inspector's position. Another question from Rick. What funds are in this budget for the Corn School proposal? The response would be the same as I gave when I reviewed the budget earlier. There are currently no funds proposed for this budget for this year related to Corn School. Another question from Rick. Cost of how many resident state troopers? Overtime allowance. The town has been and continues to budget for one full-time trooper and one trooper for 10 weeks during the summer months. There is also one for special duty, and this is associated with speed enforcement, casework, storm and emergency related patrol, and that is in the amount of roughly $7,400. There is also special duty local, which requires attendance at chiefs meetings, road races, Memorial Day, and that's in the amount of roughly $12,500. As we know, the Memorial Day parade has been canceled for this year, so we should see a reduction in that line item. As far as overtime, there's not a specific allocation for overtime. Another question from Rick Parmalee. Budget, current economic conditions. We are seeing employees being laid off in hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and even 100,000 in the private sector. Many businesses are closed and some have declared bankruptcies, while others may not reopen. How does this budget represent this current financial climate? Why are you proposing wage increases? Should be freezing wages. How many town employees are on the payroll and not working and being paid? My explanation to this would go back to the explanation that we gave in reference to a lot of due diligence and information that we followed through with as far as the decisions about the salaries of the town. Another response I would give you is that the town of Durham is a municipality. It's not a business. And quite unlike the businesses that you mentioned here that are going bankrupt and no longer in business, as far as I know, the town of Durham is still in business. As far as employees that are on the payroll, employees have actually been available. They have been working from home. And as far as I know, I've been in touch with quite a few of the town's employees who have done the best that they can in order to accommodate the current situation that we have now, so that they are in fact available and continue to work. I have the last question from Rick Parmalee. The ambulance EMS requested an excessive sum of $574,781 and $119,695 was put in the budget. There's no explanation as to what we are paying for. No additional costs are involved for this service by the residents. The information needs to be made to the Durham residents. Who do we have mutual aid agreements with? Where is the list of equipment the town owns that they use? Also, what are the wages compensation for elected officials of ambulance receiving? Why are they conducting meetings on private property when we provide a building at 205 Main Street in Durham and an office at the town hall? The details of monthly reports and monetary disbursements need to be posted on the town website. Currently, when they don't answer the 911 calls, we should be able to have qualified personnel use the ambulance. They let this new ambulance sit at Public Works for months before they put it into service. I would preamble the answer to this question to make you aware that the Board of Finance is essentially the body that provides funding for various departments within the town. The Board of Finance does not manage the internal operations of any of the departments that they fund. This being said, I sincerely hope that any of the questions that you have should be related to the people that are responsible for the management of the ambulance, and that the Board of Finance's budget hearing is not the platform for this sort of commentary. I will, however, answer the finance-related questions that you have. For the fiscal year 2021 budget, the amount that you reference of $574,781 was provided as an estimate for professional consulting if the DVAC needed 24-hour 365 coverage. The actual amount requested was the $119,695 that you referenced earlier. The Board of Finance approved $88,800 for this year. As far as information that you feel needs to be made public, the town's website hosts a variety of information that include minutes from the joint boards of selectmen, the boards of finance, our presentation. There's a presentation that was made by a third-party group that was called the Gowersha Group. And also I would review the various minutes from the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance meetings when members of the ambulance came to our board requesting funds. As far as the list of equipment, I would suggest that you contact the Ambulance Corps. As far as wages are concerned, part of the agreement was that the Ambulance Corps would submit an income and expense report, which they have done so. You can reference the Board of Finance minutes for the collection of documentation that we've received from them. As far as conducting meetings on private property, again, that's an ambulance-related question, not associated with the Board of Finance. As far as details of their monthly reports being posted to the town website, again, I would direct you to the Ambulance Corps directly. And as far as the servicing of 911 calls, again, not something under the purview of the Board of Finance. I have 4 questions now from Francis Willett. Number 1, is there any way to get oversight over why the Board of Education surplus was not returned to the towns to offset their already hurting budgets? Also, I cannot imagine that all they have is $600,000 surplus after they have been closed for the spring. As I had mentioned earlier, when I discussed the figure that was given to us from the Board of Education. The Board of Finance does not administer the Board of Education's budget. Question number 2. Where is it ethical for sitting selectmen to bid on town property for sale and vote on it in executive session? Again, I would say that it is not under the purview of the Board of Finance to speak upon ethics or the role of the Ethics Commission. Item number 3. I have not seen any updates to Board of Finance regarding the status of Durham EMS. We are unfortunately not seeing the improvements in response and staffing that was promised. Time on their required turnaround has run out. Will the town be going to RFP for commercial transport ambulance? R2 providers. If Durham EMS is not able to provide the residents with proper EMS and ambulance coverage, we need to stop kidding ourselves that they will fix their operational management failures. Again, I would say that the question is probably more fit to be heard by any of the leaders and management associated with the ambulance corps. I will tell you that the town has a requirement that the services are in place for the residents, and the current plan that we have in place is to help the funding for this year. Last question from Francis Willett. And the response is, please see item 9B2. And what he did is send us over attached minutes from the 3/16/2020 Board of Ambulance meeting. He said to please explain why a non-for-profit contracted service provider would create yet another LLC for the purpose of depositing income from Durham Fair Contracted Services. Town Finance Director and Board of Finance looks at DVAC books and that income, and the other will not be on it. Thus, they are reporting to you they only have $20,000 when they actually have more. They are not required to report LLC money to the town. Again, what I would say is that the operations that are associated with the ambulance corps essentially have to do with their operations. And I would speak to leaders that are associated with that to find the response to that. We can investigate further into this. However, at this time, we don't have a definitive response to your question. This concludes the questions that were sent in advance. The slide that you're seeing now is information related to how you can estimate your taxes. If you go to the Town of Durham website and the tax assessor office, you can calculate your estimated taxes and multiply your assessment by the proposed mill rate and divide by 1,000. As a reminder, in the event that there are any further questions that you have about this presentation, please also go to the website so that you can submit them. And we're happy to answer the questions that you submit at our meeting that will take place on the 14th. We do, however, request that you can get them in by 11:30 p.m. on the 12th. The current Board of Finance is comprised of 6 people who are elected for 6-year terms. The budget process this past year included a sequence of over 15 meetings within a period of 3 months. Weekly and Saturday meetings average between 3 to 4 hours. All of the members of the Board of Finance are volunteer, and there's no compensation for their time served. In addition to the meeting commitments, Board of Finance members spend much of their time doing their own research and spending time reviewing prior historic information, as well as viewing instructional meetings to enhance their knowledge and share their desire to ensure the Board of Finance is well informed and has as much information as possible to make strategic decisions. We all learn so much from each other and celebrate each other's diversity, knowledge, and experience in order to come together to make a well-balanced and high-functioning board. I would like to take the time to personally acknowledge all of the members for their heartfelt hard work and their accomplishments, and feel that saying thank you truly isn't even enough of an acknowledgement for the commitment that they have made. I'd like to introduce to you the members of the board. Chuck Stengel is the vice chair. Chuck is a longtime Durham resident who has been here since 1972. He's a retired engineer formerly employed by SNET and Siemens Telecommunications. During his working years, he managed work groups responsible for economic studies, regulatory activities, and as a project engineer. He has degrees in electrical engineering and an MBA. Chuck is a lousy golfer who is serving his second non-consecutive term on the Board of Finance. He's a proud veteran of 4 years in the Army, including a tour in Korea. If you ever have any time, he has plenty of slides to show you, and he really loves to create amazing spreadsheets that help us out as well. Molly Nolan is the clerk. She's originally from Chester, Pennsylvania. She's been a Durham resident since 1991. Molly is a current member of the DDTC, and from 1992 until they disbanded, she was a member of the Durham Democratic Women's Club. She worked in bookkeeping and office management for a professional services company and later an independent Whole Foods grocer. She's been the director of faith development in the Unitarian Universalist congregations since 2010, and Molly has served on the Board of Finance after filling a vacancy, and then she was reelected to her own term in 2015. Nancy Cuomo was appointed to the Board of Finance in January of 2017 to replace Mrs. Rosemary Naples. Nancy was then elected to the position that November during the general election. Nancy holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of New Haven in financial accounting. She has also served as a Republican Registrar of Voters from 2007 through 2009, and has served in numerous school associations during her children's tenure in Regional District 13. Nancy lives in Durham with her husband, Tony, and she enjoys spending time with her children and her family. Carolyn Mormile is currently serving her very first term on Durham's Board of Finance, and although she is new to our committee, she is not so new to the Durham community. She moved to Durham back in the late 1990s. She has 2 children, John and Christopher, and they are both products of the RSD 13 school system. Along with her and her fiance, Mike Sanker, she resides on Pleasant Terrace. Lori Tuttle has been a member of the Board of Finance since 2013. Her career for over 30 years was with a major insurance company as a corporate tax specialist. She walked away from the world in 2016 to take the position of studio business manager of LDD Interiors and has never looked back. Lori holds a BS in accounting from Nichols College and an MBA from the University of Hartford. She and her husband, John, have 2 grown daughters of whom they are very proud. And last but most, as I would say, we have Beth Moncada, who's the finance director for the town. Beth is the finance director for the town of Durham. She oversees all of the areas of finance and administration. Beth previously served as the executive assistant to the first selectman for 13 years. Prior to her positions within the town of Durham, Beth served for 20 years in a variety of roles with Hazen Office Interiors. Most notably managed the implementation of a fully integrated computerized system. Beth currently resides in Higganum. Beth is truly the glue that keeps all of the Board of Finance together. If there's anyone I know that eats, breathes, and sleeps all the financial numbers for the town, it is Beth. We are truly grateful that we have her on our staff. She is always consistently available whenever we need her, and she's invaluable at this point to the Board of Finance. I thank you all for joining us. I hope that this was informational. I realize that this is a very challenging time when people are finding difficulty being together in one place. However, I hope that this was informational. I hope that if you have the chance and you have a question, you get to submit that. We're more than happy to answer your questions at our upcoming meeting. I thank you all for listening, for being a part of the community, and I wish you all well during this very difficult time. Thanks again, and have a good night.